Welcome back to episode 10 of Not Another Moto Pod, hosted by Sam Fury. A bit of a late pod this week. I was traveling, so I'm going to change up the format a bit, adding to our 250 and 450 discussion. I'll go into a bit of a mid-season review, preview of what's to come as we are headed into round 9 this week at Indianapolis, so halfway through our 17-race series, essentially. Preview the East-West showdown this week, and then get into the points, and just do a bit of a review of what's gone down so far in the 250 East and 250 West class, as well as, of course, the 450s. But first, let's get into Daytona, and let's start with the 250s. Another great week of racing. Another slew of injuries, unfortunately. This 250 East class that we thought was one of the most stacked 250 coasts ever. We've lost a lot of guys. It's unfortunate. We do fortunately have several guys who still have won races, and obviously we are heading into a 250 East-West showdown, which is going to stack up the field a bit. But you know, uh, losing guys like Levi Kitchen and Cameron McAdoo this week are really another hit to the championship. I'll discuss that again later, when we get into the points and the review of the series. So, like I said, it's been rough, but we've gotten great racing out of it. We've gotten some new winners. 450 class, we got a new winner again. So let's jump into 250s, like I said. So first place at Daytona, RJ Hampshire. RJ was on it all day. It looks like he is rounding back into form. Really good for RJ to get back into this thing and get back to where he was last year as a championship level contender. He is in third place on points right now, but he's looking like I said, he's rounding into form. He's getting his speed back and getting more comfortable. We know he's really good at these East-West shootouts as well. So look for RJ maybe to make a big points gap up this week on Anstey. Second place, Tom Vial. Vial looked really good this week. This is what kind of I expected from Tom Vial at a place like Daytona. I was at Tom Vial's first Daytona a few years ago, and he looked pretty good. He looked fast. It looks like, obviously, tracks like these, fit his style better. Obviously, Daytona more outdoor style, as we've come to know. Obviously, he is a two-time MX2 champion over in Europe. So good for Vial to get second. It's good to see him on the box week after week. This is kind of his bread and butter. This is what he does. This is how he makes up points in the championship. He actually sits second now after Kitchen went out. So he's behind Anstey and slightly ahead of RJ. So really interested to see what Vial does this weekend. I think this weekend with the East-West shootout is going to be a big player in what's to come for Tom Vial this season. Third place, Seth Hammaker. Seth's first podium of the year. He did a really good job staying on Chance Hymas in fourth all race. Made a pass with about 2 laps to go. Really good for Seth Hammaker. It's good to see him up there. Good to see him staying away from, the crashy Seth Hammaker that we've seen in the past. Obviously, he has the speed. He's going to be one of the guys that's up there. He's always hanging around 3-4. So really good, and hope to see him make it through this season, and look for maybe some big things to come. I think he could probably win a race, truthfully. He definitely has the speed. Seth's biggest deal, in my opinion, is making passes. He tends to sit on people's rear wheel a bit too long. Obviously, there's been times where he's made the pass, such as this weekend. There's been times in the past where he sat on, a Cameron McAdoo for lap after lap after lap and not been able to make it, make the pass or make it stick. So if Seth gets out front one of these weeks, I would really interested to see what he can do. Also think Seth could really be a player in the Birmingham Triple Crown here in a couple weeks. Like I said, Seth's been in that 3-4 range all year, so hope to see what he can do coming forward. Fourth place, Chance Hymas. His best finish ever in Supercross, amazingly. He was in podium position all race. Unfortunate for him to get passed by Seth Hammaker late. He did actually get passed twice by Hammaker. Hammaker did get him right before the red flag restart. And obviously, we know well by now this is the third East Coast main event in a row All three this season have gone to a red flag restart. Um, so we know by now that it resets to the order on the previous lap. So obviously, when the red flag restart came back, Chance was back in third place, and Hammaker had to kind of get back to work. So unfortunate for Hammaker there, but good for Chance Hymas, especially to get this fourth place. He looked really good all day. Fifth place, Max Volan, his best finish of the year. Kind of where we expected him this season. Obviously, McAdoo and Kitchen, guys who have beat him several times this year, as well as Anstey in sixth, had some misfortune this week to allow Volan to get up to fifth, but really good ride by him. He looked really solid, and he held off all three of the star riders, all finished here in 6, 7, 8. So that would be Anstey, Dax, and Nate Thrasher. Anstey went down in the first turn with Tom Vial. Unfortunately, ended up in last and had to make his way through the pack. Did so pretty well, was up to 10th by the time of the red flag restart, about halfway through the race. He did benefit from that restart. So good for him to get up to sixth place and salvage some points and hold his points lead. Seventh place, Dax Bennick. Pretty invisible on TV, but seventh is not a bad ride for Dax. We know he's coming back from his concussion a few weeks back. This is his second race back since then, so good ride for Dax. Eighth place, Nate Thrasher. Like I said, pretty invisible there with Dax, so decent ride by Thrasher. We know he had surgery on his finger that he broke a while back, so we couldn't really expect him to be up where he had been, knowing that he had surgery in his week off. Ninth place, Cullen Park. Really good ride for Cullen Park again. He's been looking good this year. 10th place, Hardy Munoz. Really good ride by Hardy. Awesome to see him kind of put things together to stay up here this year. 11th place, Carson Mumford. Carson actually finished, I believe, 7th across the line, but was penalized 4 positions for going off track on the start. He got hung up with Anstey and went around the rhythm section in the early laps and was penalized after the fact. 12th place, Henry Miller. Didn't see much on TV, but good ride for him in 12th. Jack Chambers, 13th. Chan Baker, first main event of the year for Chan Baker. Isaiah Clark, 15th. Trevor Collop, 16th. That's good racing for Trevor Collop. He's done well this year. 17th, Austin Faulkner. 18th, Chase Marquier. 19th, Michael Hicks. Good ride by Michael Hicks coming over from Arena Cross. 20th, Gage Linville. And then 21st, of course, Levi Kitchen. He was riding great, was up to third place when we saw that nasty crash. Unfortunately, he's probably be out for a while, at least a few weeks, if not longer. But unfortunate for Levi, but we do hope to see him back for outdoors where he really shines. And then 22nd, Cameron McAdoo, who got 7th in his heat race, looked a bit uncomfortable when you could see him, but nothing out of the sort. And then, of course, did not start the main event. And then himself and Pro Circuit did announce after the fact that they are going to have him have surgery on that ACL to get him ready for next year. Let's jump over to the 450 class, where we finally, we knew it was coming this season. Ken Roczen gets his first win of the season. 8 rounds in, this is now the 6th winner of the season. I believe this is the fastest that this series has ever seen 6 winners. So unfortunate that we have lost some title favorites this season, but it has really opened up the racing and opened up, the top spot of the podium, which is really cool to see. Kenny did it in a non-traditional Ken Roczen style. This was actually his furthest come from behind, if you want to call it that, win ever. 4th place, about 6.5, 7 minutes into the race, and he just started pushing, making passes. He led for the last 8 minutes plus 2 laps. He found something. Everyone saw that line in the sand that he had, but it really came around, and came on around 7 minutes into that race, and he just blistering speed, held off Webb for almost 7 minutes plus 2 laps, something we really have not seen him do. Obviously, Webb made a bit of a mistake there, but Kenny is Kenny's in really good form right now. He seems to be in a really good headspace. Um, just unbelievable riding by Ken Roczen. Really great to see him get this win this week. Second place, Cooper Webb. Another second at Daytona for Cooper Webb. He is riding very well, if not for one little mistake in the rhythm where, he kind of teeter-tottered a bit. Obviously, not the tallest guy in the series, so lost his balance a bit and lost a lot of time. He may have caught Kenny if not for that mistake. Webb not known for his mistakes, especially late in races when charging like that. So unfortunate for Webb, but good to come home with second and make up more points on Chase Sexton. Lost a few to Kenny, but not too bad. So still holding that red plate. Third place, Aaron Plessinger. I don't know where that came from. He's been steadily moving forward this season, but his best finish was still a seventh. I believe he had 2 sevenths in a row coming into this race. He led for some of this race, looked really good out front, looked really spicy after getting by Anderson. So really good ride. He did get passed by Chase Sexton for third place and stayed on him and made the pass back. So really good third by Aaron Plessinger. Really hope to see him come back around to the guy that we've seen the last 2 seasons. Obviously, last season was his best season in Supercross ever, and this season has not started the same way. So we look to see going forward. Just hope to see Aaron Plessinger kind of find his speed again. Maybe a confidence builder this week. Fourth place, Justin Cooper. Jay Coop was really close to getting AP on the last lap. Jay Coop is going to be on the podium here shortly. He's definitely got some speed, and he's found something lately. My biggest gripe always with Jay Coop is that he doesn't move forward. He moved forward in this race pretty well and through some pretty fast guys. So really good ride by Justin Cooper. He got Chase to get into fourth later in the race, and like I said, was right on AP, pushing for that podium spot. So it's coming soon for Justin Cooper. Would not be surprised to see Jay Coop win one of these races. We got 9 left. It seems like we're going to get another winner or 2 by the end of the season, which would be incredible. But it really looks like Jay Coop has found something. If he gets a start, which he obviously can do, I really think he could win one of these later in the season. Fifth place, Chase Sexton. I don't know, man. A crash in the heat race, really odd. Lucky to get away from it. Rode well in the LCQ, obviously. Made his way up to third after a 9th, 10th place start. Looked like he was going to get in there and be the guy again. Looked like he was going to have one of these hero rides, which I think he needs for his confidence right now. I think if he has one of these hero rides, he could turn it all around. But it just wasn't meant to be this week. Not sure what happened there, but he lost third and fourth to AP and Jay Coop late in the race. Ended up finishing fifth and losing again more points to Cooper Webb and Ken Roczen in this points race. So an unfortunate race near the end, but he looked good early. So maybe something was just bothering him with the crash. I don't think we've heard from him directly about what actually happened. So unfortunate there, but look to see him bounce back soon, hopefully, just to keep this championship close. Sixth place, Malcolm Stewart. Didn't see much of Mookie on the night outside of his heat race win. Looked very good in the heat. Made a lot of passes in the heat. Not much in the main event, but sixth place, really good for Mookie. Seventh place, Justin Hill. Still looking good, looking pretty solid. Maybe this is where he's going to be all year, and we see him, bounce up between 4 through 9 to finish out the season. That would be really good for Hill. Consistency has always been his struggle, so to see him well inside the top 10 is good for Justin Hill. Eighth place, Jason Anderson. Not sure what happened, assuming he went down at some point. Led a lot of this race. I think he led for like 6.5, 7 minutes or so. And then AP eventually got by him to get into the lead. He obviously lost spots to Kenny and Cooper Webb, and then just continued to drop through the pack. So again, not sure if he crashed to set him back to 8th, or if he just lost some fitness or something. Not really sure with Anderson. 9th place, Joey Savacci. Good ride for Savacci, where he belongs. It's really crazy to look at this 9 through 22. line up midway through the race and then look at it at the end of the race and not see much movement. Daytona was a track where really early in the race, the field was kind of set. So not much going on with these guys, watching timing, scoring. Obviously, there was a lot going on in the front of the pack, so not much TV time either. But just keeping an eye on timing and scoring, and there was not a lot of movement here, between 9 through 22. 10th place, Justin Barcia. Expect to see better from Barcia, but this is kind of where he's been this year for most of the races. 11th, Shane McElrath. Shane did drop back a bit. He was early in the race around 6th place and dropped back to 11th. So look to see maybe more fitness from Shane. 11th through 13th is kind of where he's been this season, but he's had some pretty good starts and fallen backwards. So would like to see him stay up well into that top 10. 12th place, Ferrandis, invisible on the day. 13th, Mitchell Oldenburg. 14th, Cody Schock. Did not see much of Schock jumping in from the 250s. Did not see him at all in the main event. Obviously, some pretty spectacular crashes during qualifying, but no injuries, nothing of the sort. So good ride for Cody Schock to finish 14th aboard his 250 in the 450 class. 15th, Colt Nichols. I don't know. Not getting much from Colt this season. 16th, Benny Bloss. 17th, Mitchell Harrison, where he's been all year. 18th, Jerry Robin. 19th, Kyle Chisholm. 20th, Justin Starling. Starling has done pretty well for himself. Since losing some of the top guys, Starling has been in the last, I believe, 4 main events in a row. So good for Starling. 21st, Kevin Moranz. I think this is Moranz's 6th main event of the year. Looking really good, for Moranz. So good bounce back season for him. 22nd, Freddie Noren coming back from injury. Don't know that he finished the race. I believe he was a few laps down, but good ride for Noren to make it into the main event through the LCQ after a couple weeks off with an injury. That is it for the 450 class. So let's jump into the Indianapolis Showdown next week, and then I'll do a bit of a preview on points for the rest of the classes. So jumping into the Showdown, it's going to be an interesting one. I've been really excited to see an East-West Showdown with how deep the class is in the 250 class this season. We have a lot of guys who could really be up front, really, kind of take a hold of their respective coasts with a win here. Most notably, I think of RJ Hampshire, who is very good with these East-West shootouts. He showed that last year to end the season. Really interested to see how he does. Hayden Deegan, I think if a win here could be really good in his championship over on the West Coast. Obviously, he has a 6-point lead going into this, and we know that Julian Beaumer struggles a bit in the ruts at this point in his career. Obviously, Juju is in second. If Deegan comes out and wins, he could really just put a stamp on that West Championship. This being their 6th round would be really good. The odd thing about this, it's been 5 consecutive weeks without, a straight up main event finish in either of the 250 classes. East Coast, we've had 3 consecutive restarts, mid-race restarts or end-of-race restarts with the red flag. As well, going back to the West Coast, they've had 2 consecutive Triple Crowns. So we haven't really seen a regular, normal format main event in the 250 class for quite a while. So I'm really interested to see, these guys battle up front. Max Anstey, obviously, Tom Bial be good. Cole Davies maybe can get in there. We know Juju is a bit injured now, so we'd be really interested to see the Indianapolis East-West Shootout this coming week. Jumping into a bit of a preview for the 250 East class, I'll run through the points. Obviously we've got a lot of guys missing already due to injury, unfortunately. We are 3 rounds into the 250 East class. Max Anstey does hold the lead right now. Looking pretty solid. Obviously, he did have a crash in qualifying this week, but looked pretty good coming through the pack after a tip over on the first lap this week. Really think Anstey is going to be one of the title favorites still at this point. Tom Bial in second place, 6 points behind. Tom could definitely win one of these races. I just don't know that I see him as a title contender winning multiple races. Tom is definitely going to be a top three guy week in and week out, and that is his saving grace, of course. He's incredibly consistent. So if he does win this championship, I do believe it would be, maybe Max or RJ going out to an injury or missing a race or, just having a bad race, as we've seen RJ already with an 18th place finish. Third place, Chance Hymas. Chance looks good, though I don't see him as a title threat at this point in his career. Obviously riding well, riding the best that he has, but don't know that he's a multiple race winner or a race winner at all quite yet in this class. Would definitely be surprised to see him, go out and dominate one of these. Fourth place, RJ Hampshire. RJ is a bit of my dark horse. Obviously, he's last year's champion on the West Coast, but being down, just so many points at this point in the season. However, I do think RJ would probably be my personal favorite to win this. Obviously, he needs to not RJ and just ride solid, but he definitely looked good this week. And again, seems to be rounding into form. We know he wasn't 100% coming into the season, so really interested and will be really keeping a close eye on RJ Hampshire personally. Nate Thrasher's in fifth. Nate with his finger issue, he has been riding well from the back of the pack, but hasn't gotten a start quite yet. And we know he is a bit injured, so I don't know that he is going to be, in that title threat or race winner at this point. Maybe if he gets a start, he could hang out up front, but we just have not seen him get a start at all yet this season. Sixth place, Seth Hamaker. I think Seth does win a race. He's looked pretty quick lately, so would be really interested to see what Seth Hamaker can do this season. Seventh place, currently Levi Kitchen. We know he's going to be out for at least a couple weeks, I would imagine. He did post on his Instagram that he was injured. I don't remember exactly the injuries, but he is going to be out for a while. That was a nasty crash in Daytona. Moving forward, some of the other factory guys, Dax Bennick, decent riding so far, a second and a seventh, I believe. Obviously missed a race with his concussion. That's going to throw him completely out of the points race. Max Volan in 12th has had two rough races, a good bounce back this week. Austin Forkner, I don't know. Not looking good for Forkner. Don't know that he, at this point, I don't think he's finishing in the top five. I don't know what's going on specifically, but it's been three rough races for Forkner. Cameron McAdoo, obviously out for the season. Moving forward through the class. And then our last guy that we would like to talk about, of course, would be Pierce Brown. Would be interested to see Pierce next season. Obviously not going to be doing much this season with that broken back that he suffered after riding really well in Tampa. Moving into 250 West, I think our favorite at this point has to be Hayden Deegan. He only has a 6-point lead, and this coming week will be their sixth race. But knowing that Juju is a bit injured, he needs to pounce. This needs to be his week. If Hayden can finish in the top three this week and then continually be on the podium throughout the season, he should easily win this championship. Obviously, he needs to be the race winner each week, but at this point, I think him just being solid and being consistent will do the job. Julian Beaumer, he's going to be a real title threat next year. Obviously, we know he's a bit banged up at the moment. Unfortunately, especially for that series, that is a detriment. But really interested to see where his career goes moving forward. Third place, Cole Davies. If Cole Davies wasn't so many points down on Deegan right now, 22 points it looks like, I think he could be a real threat. But unfortunately, he had a couple of mistakes and a couple rough finishes throughout the year, some which were not his fault, but unfortunately have put him too far out of the championship. But Cole's going to win one of these races, I can guarantee it. He might even win this weekend at the Showdown. That would be awesome to see him get his first win at a Showdown. Not much pressure on him, so I think he just sends it. Who knows? Fourth place, Joe Shimoda. Joe obviously started the season better than usual, but unfortunately broke that finger and had some rough finishes there in the middle. He looked good in the last time we saw him, so interested to see him at the Showdown this week. Fifth place, Jordan Smith, obviously going to be out for the season, but was riding well. We hear that he's probably moving into the 450 class next season. I don't anticipate Jordan Smith coming back this season, indoors at least. Fifth place, Cody Schock. Schock looks awesome. Would love to see Schock back on the podium, maybe a few times this year. Seventh is Michael Mosman. Mosman looks much better than expected, truthfully. He's going to be a staple on the podium, I would imagine, as well. Eighth place, Garrett Marchbanks. We know he's a bit banged up. It's been riding well. Moving forward, we see Ryder D, obviously out for the season. He's injured. Drew Adams, we don't know if he's coming back. We know he had his injury this season as well. A lot of unfortunate. Styles Robertson injured out for the season, I believe. Ty Masterpool out for the season. Just really unfortunate for that 250 West class again. We've talked about this many times, but that was really going to be a good championship, we expected. And obviously some guys moved east after the fact, and that championship got much more loaded down and stacked. But this is why I'm so excited for the East-West Showdown this week. We really get to see who's the guy. Truthfully, I look to see RJ Hampshire go out there and win. I think he's really good at these showdowns. I think he shows up for these things. Deegan, obviously, at the last showdown of last season looked really good. So one of these two guys. Deegan doesn't need it necessarily as long as he beats Juju, by quite a few positions. I think he's well in the driver's seat. But in my opinion, it's going to be between RJ and Deegan. Moving into the 450 class, what do you say? At this point, Cooper Webb has a handle on the championship. He's 10 points up on Chase Sexton. He has the mental edge on Chase Sexton at this point in the series. I truthfully think the only person that can beat Cooper Webb in this series right now is Ken Roczen, as crazy as that is to say. Kenny is 16 points back in the championship, but Kenny is riding an incredible wave of momentum. He's been riding maybe his most consistent rides ever. If not for the crash in Tampa, he would be the points leader. Obviously, that's a what if, but we see how well he's been riding lately. We're going into Indianapolis, which is Kenny's best stadium. He's won 4 times there. I truthfully look for Kenny to repeat this weekend. I think that would really be a good jab at Cooper Webb for Kenny to say, hey, man, I'm still here. No matter how many points back, I'm not letting this thing go right now. Obviously, this is the midpoint in the season where we do see Kenny decline a bit later in the year. But he's got good vibes in Indianapolis. I mentioned those 4 wins. This was his first win on Suzuki, back on Suzuki in 2023. So I'm big on Kenny this weekend. And like I said, I think Ken Roczen could win this championship over Cooper Webb. However, Cooper Webb is riding really well right now, week in and week out. He's been incredibly consistent. Chase Sexton is obviously sandwich in between them in points, but Chase is this is 4 weeks in a row where something's gone crazy. In my opinion, Chase Sexton needs a hero ride like we saw at Hangtown last year to build his confidence back up. If he gets one of these rides where he maybe gets a 15th, 16th place start, goes down off the start, something out of the norm, and can find his way back to winning a race, that could flip this entire championship back around. If it goes week in and week out where Chase Sexton's just getting 3rd, 4th places, that's not going to do it against Cooper Webb. Cooper Webb is riding too well right now and is too headstrong, for that to break him. So if Chase Sexton can get one of these just incredible rides that we've seen out of him several times and can stay off the ground, a big time off the ground, one of these that he has year after year that loses him 25 points on a weekend and he DNFs. That's how I see Chase Sexton getting back in this championship. Being 10 points behind at this point in the series is not a big deal. I just think he needs to get his confidence back at this point. And to get your confidence back against someone like Cooper Webb, who we know is just unbreakable mentally, it's going to take one of those rides. So those are the 3 guys this year. Webb, Sexton, and Roczen, obviously. That's where the math is currently. I think the great thing about losing Jet and Tomac and Hunter early in the season is that it has really opened up room for these guys to get a lot of wins. We're not seeing Malcolm Stewart or maybe a Justin Cooper. We're not seeing these guys win if those three heavy hitters are still here. Obviously, Hunter is not at the level of Eli and Jet, but being in that consistent in the top five, he's opened up some room for a Malcolm or a Justin Cooper to maybe get in there and win one of these races. So really interested to see where this goes moving forward with this championship. Fourth place, Jason Anderson. Mathematically, I think he's out of it. He's been moving backwards lately. I'm not sure. He's been riding well at the start of races, just not quite there yet. Not sure what's going on with Anderson. Malcolm Stewart's in fifth place. Hasn't quite backed up his Tampa ride. Obviously, we know the circumstances of tripling into that whoop section in Tampa really is what gave him the edge there. So we're really interested to see what happens moving forward with this season with Malcolm. Justin Cooper in sixth. I said earlier, I think he can win a race. I don't know that he's a championship threat, but it's really good to see him in that top 5-4 week after week. I think that's where he belongs with the class as it is currently. Barsha's disappointed me. Justin Hill's been pretty good. AP's disappointed until this weekend. Joey Savacci, top 10 guy. I mean, that's kind of it. It's unfortunate that we lost Jorge Prado so early in the season. Didn't get to see much from him. So looking forward to seeing what he's got in outdoors. And not to look past Supercross, but looking forward into the outdoor season. I think we are going to have an incredible series with everybody healthy. Would love to see Ken Roczen ride more than he has the last few years. Obviously, we know he does the WSX series, and he's not riding much of outdoors, but would love to see him get in there and mix it up for a few races. If we have a healthy Cooper Webb, Chase Sexton, Ken Roczen, Eli Tomac, Jet Lawrence, Hunter Lawrence, Jorge Prado in the outdoor season, it's going to be unbelievable. So really looking forward to that moving forward. And that's all I've got this week, but really good to kind of do a mid-season touch point. We are, like I said, this is going to be our ninth round this weekend, so we are over halfway. So really looking forward to see how things play out on all three classes. Like I said, that's it. If you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, X, YouTube, Spotify at Not Another Moto Pod would be really appreciated. Thanks for listening.